Hello and welcome back to AP Psychology, Unit 7B. This is the unit on personality theory and personality perspectives. So in this video, we're going to be looking at the humanistic perspective. Humanism is another topic we really haven't explored in a while. So to give you a refresher here, humanism is the theoretical orientation that emphasizes the unique qualities of human beings, in particular and especially their freedom and potential for personal growth. So there are two humanistic theorists here that we want to explore. We've got Abraham Maslow and then Carl Rogers. Let's take a look at both of these guys. Humanism develops over the backlash between Freud's theories and behaviorism, not explaining human beings' nature entirely. It's actually a little dehumanizing and saying that like human beings don't get enough credit. And so even though we haven't seen behaviorism in a while, you may remember that's about focusing on things that you can actually see, guys like Skinner and Bandura and Pavlov. But humanism, in contrast, is going to take a very optimistic view towards human nature. With Carl Rogers and Maslow in particular, they're going to assume that people are more than just animals and they can rise above that animalistic instinct and heritage. People are also decision makers. They're largely conscious, rational beings who are not dominated by unconscious thought and irrational conflict. This goes entirely against the views of someone like Freud. And then people are also not helpless, deterministic pawns. We are able to understand the decisions that we make. And so this goes in the face of behaviorism. So first up, we've got Carl Rogers' person-centered therapy. Person-centered therapy is something that would be explored as well, more in the unit of Unit 8, Unit 8, which is abnormal psych and treatment. But basically, person-centered therapy is trying to help someone build self-acceptance, trying to really focus in on that person's point of view, whatever they're dealing with, and help them grow as an individual. What it kind of looks like is going around in this circle, and you can really start wherever, but you're trying to help increase someone's self-awareness. You're trying to then get them to increase how they accept themselves and then express themselves, which is ultimately going to reduce defensiveness and possibly defense mechanism, not to be connected with Freudian defense mechanism, and then increase the openness, how they are going to then explore their environments. And so there's a couple factors that will fall under that, which we'll explore in a moment. But a lot of it is built around the ideas of self-actualizing tendencies from Carl Rogers. And so he says that this is an innate drive to maintain and enhance the human organism. So basically meaning that we want to gain an understanding of ourselves and we want to build a better version of ourselves if possible. And all other biological and social motivations fall secondary to this. So how does Carl Rogers structure the personality? He contributes collectively what is called the self. And the self is a short language for self-concept. And I'm sure you've heard this word before, but self-concept is basically a collection of self-perceptions. You may realize here we're using the word self a lot. So self-concept, self-perception. Basically, what do you think about yourself? For example, I'm pretty, I'm funny, I'm intelligent, or I'm not. I would like to think I'm all of those things, but who am I to judge anyone other than myself? So you are generally aware of your self-concept, although some people are out of touch with their self-concept, and that's where we're going to see a problem here. But your self-concept is just how you view yourself. So let's say that I viewed myself as the smartest person in the room. And there was a way to measure that. Maybe I took a test along with everybody else in my room. And what do you know? On the test, I managed to fall among the top 50%. Okay, what did I learn? I'm not the smartest person in the room. However, I don't know that I want to come to terms with that. And so what can start to happen is what's called incongruence. So incongruence is when you start to have a gap between your self-concept and reality. So reality is showing that I'm not the smartest person in the room, but in my mind, I have the 200 IQ. So there's a gap there that is beginning to form, and it's going to start to impact your personality. Versus if I thought I was someone who's of average intelligence and I know I'm not the smartest or the dumbest in a room, and by a measurable way through a test, I learn, hey, I'm in the middle 50%, then I develop what's called congruence or a congruent self-concept, meaning that I have a reasonably accurate self-concept with regards to reality. So let's look at an area where you're going to see this fully be fleshed out and develop. Okay, it's largely connected to affection. As you're maturing, as you're growing older in life, as a kid, you may be the recipient of conditional or unconditional affection. If you receive conditional affection, it might sound like this. Family, parents, and your guardians in particular may stop showing you signs of love or affection depending on your success. So if they said, hey, you're not doing your best if you don't have at least all A's, and so as a result, they withhold that love and affection. That's conditional affection. Okay, why might that be a problem? Well, if you know that they are only willing to accept the absolute best, not you trying your best, but the actual best that could be attained or earned, grade-wise, that will be an A. If they're only going to show you affection for that, what's going to start to happen if you don't get that A, if you don't get that highest 100 average maximum grade? Well, you're going to start to probably form an incongruent personality because you're going to try to block out these unpleasant experiences. You might have to rationalize why you weren't on the top of your game at any given moment. If I was taking a test, for example, and I got a 50 when I was expected to get 100, I've got to come up with a reason why I got that 50 because I'm expected to be at the highest of the high, and I wasn't. So I've got to come up with an excuse. Well, I had to work last night. I'm sick. I didn't feel well. I was tired. This is me trying to block out that unpleasant experience, which is allowing me to still believe something that's not necessarily being proven by reality. So that's where the incongruency or that gap between reality and my self-concept exists. Versus the opposite. If you get unconditional affection from your parents or guardians, they may just say that they love you no matter what. They hope that you're trying your best, whether your best is an A, a B, a C, a D, or an F. If you're trying your best, they're going to love you no matter what. When you get in this form of affection, you don't have to make up excuses for unpleasant experiences because you're being loved unconditionally. That's kind of the whole point. So your personality can develop in more of a congruent sense. So hopefully that's kind of given you some examples and some ideas to help understand the difference there. It's no secret that when people have anxiety, it may threaten their beliefs or their assumptions about themselves. Anything that threatens the self-concept could lead to anxiety. And so we're always going to try to behave in a defensive manner to reinterpret that experience. So I'm not saying it's wrong to come up with an excuse if you truly did bomb a test. I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm just saying that depending on the type of affection that you receive in life, that was an example of how it could come to terms with developing a incongruent personality. But it's very common for people to come up with reasons for why they did not perform at a certain expectation. So you're not a weird person if that's something that you do. We all do that. So the other person is Abraham Maslow. And Maslow has a theory on self-actualization. He's known for contributing the pyramid, the hierarchy of needs, which I'll show you on the next and final slide. Excuse me, it's early. But the hierarchy of needs is basically an arrangement of needs according to priority, in which certain basic primitive needs have to be met first, be stimulating those types of needs, and then you move up the pyramid to the next level and the next level and the next level. And there's a few forms of this pyramid. This one is a little bit more expanded, but in the original one, I believe there was just 5 layers. So a self-actualizing person is somebody who's made it to the top of the pyramid and has a very healthy personality, lots of continuous growth, lots of acceptance of themselves, and then they can try to actually help other people build on those things themselves. And so the pyramid here, as you might see, biological and physiological needs is at the bottom. You move up to the next level, safety, the next level, belongingness and love, the next level, esteem, and then you can just keep going. No need to read them all out. But an example I would just say to kind of help connect the dots here for you is, and I've maybe used this example in another video, but if you are a student who's coming to school and you're hungry, your biological and physiological needs are not being met, you're homeless, you're hungry, you don't feel safe, you're cold at home, there's a good chance you're not going to be learning a whole lot at school because you have certain needs that are not being met. Now, the school can meet some of those needs. You can get food at school, you can get air conditioning, or you can get heat. You can feel safe, hopefully, but when you're at home, maybe those needs are not being met. So before you would ever be concerned with, wondering, am I beautiful, or my cognitive needs, am I understanding the meanings of certain things around me, or am I building knowledge, cognitive needs? Before you're going to get to that level, you got to satisfy the stuff before it. And so if you're a homeless student or a starving student, when you come to school, you're not at that point until those needs are being met. And so there's many other examples you can use to explain the hierarchy of needs, but you can start with something like that. Just think about anything in terms of learning a skill or learning in general. It's very, very difficult to try to acquire something new if you can't acquire that in a place where you feel safe or where your other needs are being met, where you feel like you belong as a person, your contributions to life and society are valued, where you have a sense of reputation and achievement that you get to control, yada, yada, yada. So this is the hierarchy of needs from Abraham Maslow. Obviously, this would have an impact on your personality. If you are having a very healthy personality, then you're growing through the pyramid. If you are not growing through the pyramid, then you may be stuck at a level where certain needs are not being met. That's going to do it for the humanistic theory of personality development. As always, thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you next time. Adios.